Welcome, everyone, back to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. We're back after a couple-week hiatus. Wanted to get the season going a little bit before we started talking about it, right? You don't want to overreact too much to everything. So we're doing things a little different this year. Today's episode is going to be just talking about some guys we can maybe buy low right now for 2 weeks and sell high. So we're going to be the ones that are trying not to overreact, but there's definitely people in your leagues that overreact. And that's what the point of this is. Hopefully the people that we name are on one of those teams. I think everyone has those people in their leagues. I mean, if Joe has one of these, we could probably get him off of him, you know? So we have a couple guys. We'll go, let's talk about guys we're looking at selling first, who might have had a hot start that we're just not sure.
Well, I was going to say hot start. I have one that is a really hot start, and then I have two that are larger names that I think you can still get more than what they're going to produce in the year.
Yep.
So I'll split those up. So the one that I'm going to say, very hot start to the point where if you're a manager, you're probably like thinking you struck gold, and it's got to be DeAndre Swift for me.
One game.
Look, he was amazing. That game was phenomenal.
Yep.
But first of all, I cannot be a betting man and think that he can reproduce that. He will have games that are big. We knew they're coming in, right? The big one for me is I feel like he's always an injury concern. That offense is fickle as far as who is going to put up big points. A.J. Brown has really not been as involved as, he should be. So, and, once again, Hurts can still allow those touchdowns as well. So in my mind, I'm saying this is what he's capable of doing. And with the injuries that have occurred, I think you can get a lot for him. And you didn't draft him as your number one or number two running back. So you probably, once again, you're probably holding on to him thinking, well, he's my number 3 and he's amazing. I feel like you can get a lot for him right now. And that would be probably the number one. I'm doing this a lot. I don't know. But I feel like he would be my number one, being like, I can't, this is unusual production. And it looks so good right now that I can get more than he's worth.
I'm with you because I think it's a couple of factors. It's how good the game was. It's DeAndre Swift, the name in general. People don't understand. Like people think he's good. He's a good player.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
So people like that, and it's the Eagles, right? It's everything about that. That's like there's some people that are really in love with it, and really what they're going to be just bought into it. And I'm not even maybe this is what he is, but seen too much. He's not just. And there's multiple factors, not just him. It's him in the past and what's happened with him, and he can't stay healthy and things don't work out. And it's the Eagles in general. And then to top it off, Kenny Gainwell was not there for that game. Mm-hmm. Kenny Gainwell was clearly the number 1 in week 1. So maybe that was always the case, is you're going to get Swift. But how do you go from like 2 carries, like nothing, to that many? That worries me in the fact that I think the Eagles are just going to be all over the board with who gets the ball. Right. And Swift did this last year too, though. People forget, like he started off first game against Philadelphia last year when he was with the Lions, 15 carries for 144 yards and a touchdown in week 1 last year, and 3 catches for 31. So he had 175 total yards and a touchdown in week 1 last year. So Swift did this just literally a year ago. So, and then we know how the rest of the year went, right? And so I'm with you. If you can find somebody that's going to bite on this, you know what? You're taking a little chance, right? Because maybe this is who he is. But we have enough history that tells us the chances are probably low of that. So go get something for him. Don't sell him. Don't sell low. Like you're selling high. You're going to get somebody good for him, because this is like, there's that chance that he is this good. So just don't sell yourself short of it. I'm not saying like, oh, you have to trade him. If you can get a good value, you get that guy to bite that's just in love with him. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And the thing I love about this the most is if he just had, there's a lot of guys that will have, we'll say 15 carries, but they get into the end zone twice, and all of a sudden their numbers look great. You point to this and you say he got 28 attempts when he was the primetime guy. He proved himself. There's going to be a lot of people that even if you cut that in half are still like, that's really great production, and I need a running back. That is what's going to look good. I mean, the week 1 he got 1 attempt, right? So
All right, Jeff. Here we go. Oh man. So people are going to hate this. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing you've ever said. And it's fine. If you want to say that, that's fine. I'll be fine with it. Travis Kelce.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And got some stats. This is Travis. Again, I think Travis Kelce is going to be the best tight end at the end of the year.
Okay.
I do think that. This
okay.
isn't
as
like...
long as you start
Yes,
with that.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. I just don't think the gap is as big as people think. And because of that, I think the name and everything of what people think he is, I think right now you can get so much for him where, yes, you are going to take a hit at tight end. You absolutely will. You can't, there's no way you can't, like, the tight end position has been terrible.
Yeah, awful.
So I just don't know if Kelce has the gap we think he has. But I think you can get some, like, I'm talking like, if you trade him, you need to get first round talent players. Like, you get guys at the top of the draft. That's what the guys you're going to get, right? I don't know who exactly, but you get to get guys that are way up there. But this is one thing for Travis Kelce, last 8 games. The numbers aren't as good as people think over his last 8 games. Last 7 of last year plus the first one this year. They're still good, but they're not like, it's just not where I think when people think the gap is for there. They're like, they're going to look solid. So over the last 8 games, he has 45 catches for 499 yards. So if you took that over 16, that's still 90 catches for 1,000 yards, right? So that's a good tight end season. But in those last games, you know how many touchdowns he has? 2. That's it. 2 touchdowns over the last 8 games. That's not that great. That average is, so the numbers seem overall, but like 5.6 catches, 62 yards, 0.25 touchdowns per game over the last 8. How many weeks is he winning? There's just not as big of a gap.
Yes, I will agree. I think
the gap's not there.
I think perhaps that's a little thin for me, only because I also think, like, he was hurt the first game of the season. He did not play. They looked bad.
So I didn't count that one. Yeah, right.
No, without doubt. The reason I'm thinking, and once again, I agree with you that I think the gap will shrink this year. The hard part is, once again, if you can get a ton for him,
that's the key.
Then
you're not just selling him to sell him. You're selling him to get a bunch,
because there's no one else out there to get at tight end, really. So it's going to be a mix and match of who's scoring touchdowns, who is not. I mean, right now, Hunter Henry, I believe, is the number one because he's caught 2 touchdowns so far. It's really ugly. And with Casey, I do think that they're going to go to him often in the red zone because they don't have any trust in, and I did this again, any trust in, like a politician, any trust in their wide receivers. And he caught a touchdown the first game back. Saying that, I think, even though I would, if I got to pick one tight end, I would definitely pick Kelce, like you said.
Yes, I would still pick him.
If you can get a king's ransom for someone who has already got a team put together and they want that big name, you could get a lot for him, and you can probably grab multiple pieces that don't have the name recognition. I think this is a good time of the year to do it. So once again, if an injury occurs as well.
So the numbers I was taking were the first game that he played this year plus this last 7 of last year. Do you know what place he finished over the last 7 games last year?
Actually, no, I don't. I'm going to say 5th.
5th.
Okay.
So
you started with, and I was like 4th.
So
5th.
It was George Kittle, Evan Ingram, TJ Hawkins, and Dalton Schultz. Travis Kelce over the final 7 games of last year was only the 5th best tight end. He did not win you a championship.
Well, in that case, that means he only scored 1 touchdown in 7 games at the end.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. I mean, I get that. He did not win. And that is a big one, too. Is he going to come through when you need him?
Yeah, I think everyone just kind of just forgot about this.
Here's another question, though. First of all, if you were an auction draft league, you had to put a ton of capital. Are you actually do you think you can get more back now? So if you bought him, do you think it's actually smarter? Like, okay, you spend $40 on him.
I think it's possible because people love Travis Kelce and love the name and think he's amazing. He's the best tight end. He still is. He's the best tight end.
I'm wondering, like, I'm trying to think of the people you could go after that would be. There's probably a lot of guys here that are like, we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe we'll see if I got a couple names.
Buy
here.
low, right?
Okay, one of the buy low.
I don't mind that though. I like.
Could you trade him and get Jamar Chase, who has a terrible start?
No, I mean, I can't imagine. That's a big name too. I think people are, if you drafted him, usually you have like, I want to wait it out and find out.
Unless there's somebody that's an overreactionary person that has him. So that's where there's
some other guys that we'll
so,
see.
But just that's where I'm just Travis Kelce. It's just not as. It's just
I like it.
No one's talked about this. Like, so this is standard scoring, but these are the last 7 games. 11. This is how many points he got. 11.7, 3.6, 7.1, 10.5, 11.3, 4.3, 3.8.
Yeah, those last two are pretty brutal, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. If you wanted to move a piece, he is a unique one.
It's just not as dominant as you would be led to believe.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill had a higher points per game over those last 7. He had a bye in there, so he didn't overall finish it. He was 6th. Yeah. His points per game were higher. And points per game, Kelsey was 6th over the last 7. 7 isn't a small number.
The amount of points he was up by the end of the year was a lot.
It was.
So that first half of the season, he killed it.
He was awesome. And just, sometimes 33, 34-year-old players start to not be as dominant. I'm not saying it for sure. I mean, there's the Taylor Swift stuff going on now. Like, maybe just saying. If you can get some good stuff for Travis Kelce, maybe look into it. Maybe look into it. All right. You have any more guys you're looking at possibly selling? Just throwing them out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm still, once again, you have to get a good amount for these guys, but I'm not. I'll just throw him out there because he wasn't on my list necessarily, but I'm not against getting rid of Saquon at this point. I only say that because I worry about the injury. He's not getting as many carries as I would like him to see, but he's phenomenal. But I'm still thinking that injuries and everything else going on with New York, if you can get a ton for him, I'm not against that.
Maybe have to wait a couple weeks, but
he has a sprained ankle. But at that point, I think
as soon as he comes, because he won't play because what they're playing.
Yeah, but Thursday. I think even with a sprained ankle, he's not going to be out for a long term.
That won't be too long.
People will still trade for him because they want the name.
They'll think they're buying low.
Yeah. So I'm kind of that one I would toy with. You have to make sure you get enough back.
I'll throw it. Just curious what you think. Mike Evans, real hot start.
I actually think that might be real.
Okay. That's okay. I don't really know either way.
I think he'll come back down to earth, but I think it's real.
I think he still has it.
Yeah, they're using him in the red zone. He's always been incredibly good at that. He's not doing something that I'm like, oh, he's never done it before.
Maybe that's just Baker Mayfield's going to go to him. So
we'll see. Well, he wants to stay in the league.
And then one other name I was going to throw out there, Brian Robinson. Good start for Brian Robinson. Do you think anybody's going to buy it?
Yeah, that's my question. I actually think that he's more valuable keeping at this point because I think he will keep producing, and I don't think his name is big enough yet.
Yeah, that's where it's probably not there yet.
Yeah, but I like where I just looked at him.
He's up there, he's top 5 right now. So
yeah, I'll say one other one that breaks my heart, but and I think this one might be a more difficult sell. I still think he's gonna be like, he'll probably be 1,000-yard guy, but Garrett Wilson, man. Aaron Rodgers went down.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson is gonna be the starter as far as we can tell right now. He caught a long touchdown, and I'm just saying if you can get value for him, it is gonna be an annoying season and nothing to do with him. The touchdown catch he had a couple of games ago, and then the one, he's the real deal. He really is. But Zach Wilson again, I know. I don't want to suffer through a year.
He's 11th in standard through 2 weeks, which is because of the touchdowns. Yeah, it's if someone could buy into still being Garrett Wilson, he's a great player, but Zach Wilson, man, just not. Yeah, not it. Yeah, I hate it to say because it's it's just.
And don't get rid of him for nothing because remember last year with 3 very not great NFL quarterbacks, he was still able to put together 1,000 yards and still look really good. So he's still valuable. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. Yep.
But there might be someone out there that really loves him, and I would love to offset the the headache.
Yep. All right, so buy low. I threw up Jamar Chase. He's terrible start. It's hard because.
His name is too big.
You'd have to have it. It'd have to be the type of manager that just overreacts to everything. Like you said, who those are in your league. And if it's one of those kind of guys, make a move. Most of the people, if you play with a level-headed people, you're not going to get it, right? Another name I'd still be interested in just because it's kind of a slow start. I liked him in the offseason. Jahan Dotson hasn't done anything. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's not a name that people care about. But I still think there's something there, and I think he can be good. I think you can get him for little right now. Because honestly, it's getting to the point where people could just drop him if he has a couple more bad weeks. I think he has 8. It's 8 for 62 so far. He hasn't done anything.
I know. I laughed because when I was looking at this, some of these names were lower. I was like, okay, I'll put that on the waiver list. Not. And that might, one of those. If people start dropping him, you're like, there's no. Yeah. You absolutely have to pick him up.
So he's one for sure. I'll throw out one more that I would still buy low. Jahmyr Gibbs.
He was my number one that I would say I'd buy low on him.
I think the usage is going to increase over time. It's going to continue.
And I would love
increase.
to do it now because Montgomery is he's hurt. He's going to be out. They're going to use him more.
Yep.
And then so if you can get a deal done quicker rather than later, that's going to be better. I think the talent looks real, and they will still use Montgomery. Don't get me wrong. He is
for sure.
The thing that we worried about with Gibbs was that Montgomery would be that goal line back. He's going to be that. I'm still okay with it. I think the more he plays, the more I'm just kind of like, you see flashes of what made other people really good. He is going to be a very useful back as far as receiving and whatnot. And the first 2 games, he's only had 7 rushing attempts each. And, that is actually, that's fine. I would love to get that to 10, but that is kind of in the area of where I'm actually looking. I think he's going to be a skyrocket. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and he's 6th. Oh no, tied for 3rd in the league in targets at running back position.
Yeah.
He had 8. He led the Lions in targets in week 2.
It'll come. There's no doubt about it.
It's there. The players that he's with that are right there with targets are guys you would expect. Some of them, Tony Pollard, Saquon was there, right? Bijan's up there, right? Those kind of guys. And then there's also Jalen Warren and Kyron Williams who've done some stuff. But Gibbs is there. Targets are there. He should get more carries. It'll happen. And some people are going to be down on him already. So I'd go target him. So
the other guy, I have one that I'll keep for the waivers. The other guy that I was actually going to talk about buying low on is actually going to be another Detroit player, and that's Sam Laporta.
I love Sam Laporta.
Yeah, he looked like, and I don't want to throw, blah, blah, but when he got it and as physical of a runner he is, it literally was like, I want to say baby Gronk, but he was a physical pass catcher that I haven't seen in a little while. And it was one guy that I was very intrigued by. But hey, he seems like he's the tight end. He does a lot of stuff. He's not going to be just a pass catcher. So I'm not saying that he's going to be competing with Hawkinson or Kelsey or anything like that. But I think that he could be in that middle of the pack of the top 10. And Detroit keeps spreading the ball around. I think that there's a lot of ability for him to, scoop up 5 catches a game. And that sounds really low, but in tight end world, that's actually worthwhile.
It is. He's 7th at tight ends and targets. And the 5 catches thing is great because he is the only tight end in NFL history to get 5 catches in each of his first 2 games.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
That has never been done in NFL history at the tight end position.
That's actually crazy.
Like we'd say tight ends start slow, but Sam Laporta has had literally the quickest start ever.
Yeah. Do you know how many people? Yeah. Do you know how many people have been drafted in like the top 10? And I can't believe that they haven't been able to do that yet.
Sam Laporta is I just read that yesterday. He's the first tight end in the history of the NFL to have 2 5-catch games in a row to start his career.
That's amazing. The only other one that I was kind of like, once again, they drafted him, but Cooper Kupp being on the IR, as good
and with Puka
Puka doing it, I'm wondering if people would get cold feet. And I'm actually thinking because of how well Puka did, I'm thinking when Cooper Kupp comes back, we always knew what he was able to do. But I think you can actually get him for a deal, being like, hey, I'm not going to get a steal of the year, but I can get a lot less than what I drafted him for.
For sure.
And I think at that point too, I think people have a real reason with Puka doing well. So
yep, definitely. All right, there's some guys. We'll have some. We'll do this every week. Some guys that come up on our radar, and maybe we'll see if Jamar Chase has another bad week. We might really have to talk about it next week.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, all right, that'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys next time.